TIFU dressing up as Harry Potter to please my GF during X. My GF is a hardcore Harry Potter fan. Or at least she used to be. I remember during the honeymoon phase of our relationship, she mentioned one of her fantasies was a Harry Potter roleplay situation where she was a professor at Hogwarts that ends up being seduced by one of her students. I didn't know what to do with that information at the time, but I thought it was funny and I never forgot about it. Less than 2 years later, I decided to bring out my inner wizard and figure out how to fulfill the fantasy my GF always wanted. After completing my Harry Potter research, aka rewatching the movies, I called my GF a few days ago and encouraged her to play along and avoid asking questions when she came over that evening. That was it. No spoilers. When my GF showed up at my flat, I was standing in the lounge wearing a Harry Potter costume and pointing a wand at her. She laughed. I referred to my GF as Professor, and asked her if she remembered that spell she taught me during dark arts class that paralyzed people. My GF was still laughing, but she eventually nodded in response to my question. I waved my wand and shouted, Petrificus Totalis. My GF struggled to stop laughing, but she managed to get into character and freeze instantly, as per my spell. I literally picked up my motionless GF and put her down on the couch. I proceeded to undress my GF while telling her how much I've always wanted to sleep with a mudblood and pump her full of pure blood seed. Not gunnily, I cringed on the inside when I delivered that line because it sounded silly, but then again, I could tell my GF was turned on when I removed her underwear. It was working. When I was done going down on my GF, I waved my wand between her legs and said, unimpregnate. I made her aware that I was gonna penetrate her without protection and my made UP spell would prevent her from becoming a mudblood MILF. I unzipped my pants and banged my GF in my wizard uniform. She forgot she was under my paralysis spell and broke character a few times when she moaned and moved her body, but at that point we were both past the point of controlling ourselves and just did whatever felt good. The two of us came really hard. Based on the outcome, I knew my GF enjoyed what I did. However, post-nut clarity left her with mixed feelings afterwards. My GF said the fantasy was hot when it happened and she appreciated my effort, but replaying it in her head made her feel like we were acting too much like children to get ourselves off and that was kind of giving her the ick. She never said it in so many words, but I sensed that she was low-key trying to tell me that she outgrew her Harry Potter fantasy and I was probably too late. Instead of letting it go and moving on, I revisited the topic last night, almost a week since the fantasy. I decided to ask my GF what I could do differently in case I wanted to surprise her with a sequel. My GF sighed and said I could just copy and paste what her ex-BF did. She paused mid-sentence and looked at me like she suddenly realized she said something bad. Against my better judgment, I encouraged my GF to finish her sentence. She said she didn't really care about Harry Potter prior to meeting her ex, who was the Og Potter fan apparently. She said his nerdy obsession with Harry Potter was endearing. I asked how endearing. My GF dodged my question and said I should focus on the fact that she enjoyed the version of her fantasy one created. I asked what was her ex's version. My GF said, if you really want to know, before telling me that her ex enjoyed playing the role of a Quidditch captain who ends up missing the game and losing the tournament because he was alls deep inside his wizard GF. She said it was unexpectedly hot because her ex pretended to be reluctant and submissive whereas she had to be distracting and dominant, which was new for her. She said she didn't know she could squirt until she dominated her ex. I said I didn't know she could squirt until now. My GF awkwardly laughed it off and said I should be grateful I've never made her squirt because she always hated the cleanup. I asked my GF why she would plant the seed of a Harry Potter roleplay fantasy at the beginning of our relationship if her ex already did a better job. She rolled her eyes at me saying, better job, and said she was still somewhat high on her ex during our first few dates and wanted to recapture the same magic from her previous relationship. Butch eventually fell in love with me and forgot about her ex and his Harry Potter BS, until recently when she saw me in my Harry Potter costume, which automatically made her think of her ex. I should have stopped asking questions, but for some reason I couldn't. I asked my GF if she was turned in during the fantasy roleplay because she saw mine the Harry Potter costume or her ex. She said nothing. I asked if the ick she was feeling afterwards was not really the ick, but the guilt of knowing she was thinking of someone else fulfilling her fantasy instead of me. My GF said she was gonna go and she did. I didn't stop her. Now she's not responding to my messages or my calls. DRI dressed up as Harry Potter to fulfill a sexual fantasy my GF had at the beginning of our relationship, but I accidentally made her remember how much better that fantasy was when her ex was Harry Potter and not me. Now my relationship is no longer in a good place. TIFU by hiring a prostitute. So, after a tough year working in a remote area in the middle of nowhere, my friend, coworker, 26M, asked me, 25M, to go with him on vacation for a week, and I said hell yeah, why not? Why not had been my lifestyle for the last year. So we went to that country, visited multiple cities, and had a lot of fun. My friend in one of the places told me he knew some prostitute through Snapchat map and he already met her in the previous city. I noticed that he left the hotel one night and returned late. She will travel to meet him and she could bring a friend with her if I'm interested. So following my motto I said why not? The next day we met up with the girls and split up. I took the girl, 2 years older than me, to my room, chatted a little bit and kissed, then we left around sunset to the coast, rented a boat and continued chatting. That girl wasn't what I expect. She was smart, intelligent, beautiful, and we shared a lot of things, especially how we see things and think about people. She asked a lot of questions and so did I, but she asked a question that I didn't expect and didn't want to answer because it was too deep. She said you are a nice, kind person but something is wrong inside you. Something dark in your heart. What's it? Can you talk about it? As a man in my environment, the only thing you can do about your feelings is bottle it up and never talk about it, and I knew there's something wrong with me, and I was trying to fill that empty void in me since a long time, especially the last few years with my job paying very well for me. Because we were in a boat, I couldn't run away from the answer. I tried revolving around the subject but without any success, until I saw a bathroom in the boat and I excused myself. After the boat we walked near the harbor, laughing and talking, eating some ice cream until we reached the hotel and sent her to take her bags to spend the night with me. My friend came to take his bags also, and gave me a condom. He's been a good friend as usual, winked and left. Shortly she brought her stuff, took a shower and we sat and talked. She brought up that question again and really insisted on getting some answers. Finally I gave up and started talking about my life, family and the struggles I have been through since the first memory I remember. The things I have never discussed with a human before has finally come out in loud. She understood, but couldn't say a lot because she didn't expect that much of trauma, so I kissed her and we end up naked in the bed. I putted the condom on, and before I could start doing my job, I started having something like a panic attack. My heart was beating quickly, body shivering. I just let my head on her chest and stopped for a couple of minutes. She tried to calm me down by massaging my back, whispering in my ear everything will be okay, and I couldn't lift my head up, just froze in that position. After a while managed to pull myself together, clean up, put up a robe, got back in the bed, kissed her, turned on the TV and slept. In the morning we ate breakfast, paid the girl, met up with my friend, bagged up and traveled back home. I didn't tell anyone yet, and usually I don't trust anyone to tell them anything, especially my feelings and struggles. I'm more depressed than the usual, and I think I need to visit a psychologist, which I knew I should do since the pandemic, but I didn't want to do it, and now I must give it a chance. TLDR. I hired a prostitute, end up talking about our life. She insisted on knowing more about me, vented out a little bit about my struggles, and instead of having fun I have to see a shrink. Edit. 1. English isn't my native language and I'm not going to apologize, Mr. Shakespeare. 2. I'm going to see a shrink but I have to go back to work before that. I arrived Wednesday and I have to be there 500 kilometers from home Saturday morning, so I'm traveling today unfortunately. 3. No, I'm not Tony Soprano. And now I see the similarity. I'm not a serial kill, but I share a lot with them, winking face. 4. I think I should play Cyberpunk and watch The White Lotus and find out who the hell is Holden Caulfield. 5. Guys, I rather have this experience a million times than meaningless sex. I'm not ashamed from this experience even if I was fooled. 6. People who say I should find Jesus, with all due respect, read my name and figure it out. 7. For the people interested on how much I paid, I kid you not when I say less than $350, $14 per hour. Cheaper than any psychiatrist in the world. Thanks all for this feedback. I feel a little bit better because of you. And it won't be Reddit if no one attack, doubt, made fun of you. I may have to delete this post later today because it's spreading like fire and I don't feel comfortable about it. Update. Okay, I see that I made a lot of updates and edits, because I want to reply to everyone but ID's impossible, and if I continue editing I'll establish a book or movie script. Hollywood, if you're interested in that I'm listening. _. What I want to say. This is the final update unless I visit a psychiatrist. I think I should let you know either in this sub or somewhere else. Any suggestions? I'm a devout Muslim, so for everyone asking me Topray, I'm doing my best, and I know that what I'm facing isn't the result of me being away from God, and being close to God only will not salvate. That's why I didn't want to visit local shrink. I don't think they will be impartial enough, so if you know some online websites DM me please. I decided not to delete it because some people find it inspiring in their opinion. I did read every comment and thanks for you. Whoever was your comment, believe me, it made my day and lifted my spirits a little bit. I'm not gonna tell you the name of the country because I'll create a bad reputation, but I'll tell it's in somewhere the Middle East close to my country. Thanks everyone, and I guess goodbye hand waving.